Hello again, and welcome to the Freedom Podcast. The Freedom Podcast, where we just bring individuals that want to share knowledge and make the world a better place. And today I'm bringing myself again because I want to talk about something that's woven into the very fabric of our lives, something that we do every day without even thinking about it, and that's consumption. We are a land of consumers, okay? So from the moment we pick up our cell phones in the morning to the shows we watch at night, things that we binge do, whether it's scrolling, we are constantly consuming, bringing something in. But what happens when that's all we do? And that's what I want to tackle today. What happens when our country, which was built on ingenuity, innovation, growth, developing, becomes a nation of passive consumers? That's the question we're going to tackle today. And we're going to explore how can we shift from just being a consumer and having that consuming or consumption mindset to actively creating. That's what we're going to get into. So America is a consumer society. There's no mistaking that. There's no getting around it, right? And frankly, there's a lot of good that comes with that. Our economy, growth, money's being created, money's being spent. But consuming is not necessarily just a good thing when it comes to making money. Yes, it drives innovation, it creates jobs, it fuels economic growth, but somewhere along the way, the balance of this whole consuming thing got skewed. It seems like that's all we do. We become so fixated and focused on the act of buying, scrolling, taking things in. The act of making has become a novelty, like people having businesses. That's like, let me create my own company. That's like a niche thing, or is it niche, however you want to say it. That's not the norm. And it used to be the norm to create. And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with consuming, but why can we not do both? Think about it. We teach our kids to be good students, to absorb information, to pass tests. We teach them to be good employees, to follow instructions, to be productive. We teach them to be these cogs in this whole machine, just turning together, working together, cohesively. But do we teach them to be innovators? Do we teach them to be inventors? Okay, do we encourage them to create something from nothing? To fail? Like, what happens when we fail in school? Some people call them stupid, but that's how you grow from making mistakes. To fail forward, okay? Move forward. And then try something, and then if it doesn't work, we should be teaching them to try again. Make your mistakes. But we kind of discourage people from making mistakes. This passive consumption of content, whether it's on social media, streaming services, or the news, can be a form of intellectual and creative laziness, okay? Yes, those are great dopamine hits. Let's say you had a hard day and you're just scrolling, or you're watching a show. What happens when you watch one 30-minute show, hit another 30-minute show, hit another 30-minute show? Those are lazy dopamine hits. It's super easy, it's comfortable, and it requires very little from us. But true fulfillment, true growth, the kind that resonates deep inside, often comes from the opposite. It comes from the act of creation, making something from nothing. Think about Shark Tank. Shark Tank is an amazing place that people go to pitch their ideas. These ideas were born from scarcity, born from creating a need. So how do we fix this imbalance? Because I don't want to just beat around, but I definitely need to paint the picture so you understand that there's a major problem. How do we fix this whole thing? Do we stop consuming entirely? Well, can't do that, because if we stop consuming, that's going to hurt our economy. And it's going to hurt our bottom line. So that's not realistic, and it's definitely not desirable. I, for one, like shopping on Amazon or Walmart or wherever I go to consume things that we need. The goal here is not being a purist, okay? We don't want to create a world of creator versus consumer, okay? It's about being intentional with what we consume and using it as a springboard for what we want to create. So I want you to be practical in this whole thing. I'm not saying stop consuming and just start creating. Both can be true at the same time. So think about it like this. First, set how much you're going to put into yourself. I know there's some apps out there that you can throw in where it's actually going to set ground rules from how much content you can consume, and it'll actually turn that app off. Okay. Think about it like this. This is very simple, but it's a powerful concept. For every hour you spend consuming content, whether it's watching TV or scrolling on Instagram, commit to spending 15 minutes creating something. So you got an hour consuming. That's a lot of dopamine pulling it in. So now you're just gonna start with 15 minutes of creating something, whether that's sitting down, writing, journaling, putting your energy into creating. Doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Doesn't have to be this grandiose thing where you're creating a book. Okay, it could be just sketching again, journaling, writing a few lines of code, or just brainstorming some new ideas, or a side project you've been thinking about doing. I know for me, one of my side projects I want to get into is baking some sourdough. The point here is not to change the world. The point is to make the act of creation a non-negotiable. You did the 1 hour of watching a show. Now you owe 15 minutes of creating something. Make this a part of your day. Okay. I can even go as far as to say reading something. If you are looking at a show for 1 hour, read for 15 minutes, but not just read anything. I'm not talking about content on your phone. Nope, not that. But read something about creating something. Read a book that is outside of something that you would have normally read. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, be a mindful consumer. Instead of just mindlessly scrolling, approach what you consume with a creator's eye. Think about it like this. When you're watching a movie, think about the storytelling. When you're reading an article, consider the author, structured, how their argument went. What was the author saying? Come from a different point of view what the author was saying. Use every piece of content you encounter as a learning opportunity. And I know you're saying, okay, content, I can also do that on my phone. But the problem is you can't not look at something objectively if you're just doing this. You're going from one to the next to the next. What if you looked at that one post and said, okay, I'm going to discuss this objectively in my mind. I'm going to look at this from a different point of view and just have an intellectual conversation with myself or with somebody else. Ask yourself, how was this thing made? How did they make this content? What lighting did they use? Okay, what is their real message here? The big thing is, ask yourself, what can you learn from that one post? Again, the problem with posting and content on Instagram, TikTok, whatever have you, is it feeds the next one. You're gonna go to the next one, go to the next one. Now, challenge yourself, see if you can do it. Hit one, open it up, first one that pops up, stop right there, and then ask those challenging questions, those probing questions. What am I getting out of this? How did this person make it? Big one, what can I learn from this one post? Now, third, start with something small and private, okay? The biggest barrier to creating is often the fear of judgment, okay? We think, we have to create something amazing for a huge audience, right out the gate. That's not gonna happen all the time. And here's the thing, that is a huge trap, That's a trap, okay? We trap ourselves because we live in a world that everything is great. So we don't want to do anything because we don't necessarily know if our content or whatever we're thinking or whatever we want to create is going to be great right out the gate. It might not be, but that's not the point. Start with a private journal, okay? A blog nobody knows about. You put it on the internet, or a sketch that just you are going to see. Start with something small. Get comfortable with the act of creating without the pressure of somebody potentially watching. I know that's what's, on social media. I know you're looking at this app right now. You're looking at me doing this podcast. But here's the thing. Watch this. Hey, I'm making a mistake. It's okay. Make your mistakes. But you don't even have to start with the intention of sharing this. You start with you being the only audience. Just you being the only audience. Okay? Let yourself be bad at it. It's okay. Mess up. And then realize that that's the joy of this whole process. Going through the whole process, not just the end result. Okay, the end result is the process. So this isn't just about personal growth. it's about the future of our country. America has always been at its best when we're inventing. You know, if you think about the Fords and all these other amazing cars and all the peanut butter, the light, you know, we are innovators. When it's building and when we are dreaming up the next big thing, that spirit of creation, it's a muscle. It's a muscle. And we don't use it a lot. And so guess what happens when you don't use a muscle? You lose it. Let's not be the nation that just watches others build the future. Let's be a nation that is actively building it ourselves. Let's embrace the idea that both consuming and creating can be true at the exact same time. We don't just need to feed and pull in data. We can also look at, okay, here's an issue over here. Here's a problem over here. I want to help fix that. I want to help build. So I want to challenge you today. What will you create? What idea will you bring into the world? The world is waiting for your solution and your contribution. So thanks for joining me today on this podcast. Remember, don't just be a consumer, be a creator as well. 1 hour of consuming, 15 minutes of creation. God bless. I hope you have a great day, and let's continue to get that financial freedom.